Now I'd like to introduce you to our speakers who will be guiding us through today's session. We have Kevin Lancaster, co-founder and CEO at BetterTracker, and Logan Guzman, solutions engineer at SaaS Alerts. With that, I'm going to hand it over to you guys.
Right. Well, thanks for having us. Appreciate it, Logan. Thanks for doing this with us. I'll kind of jump right in. I had the idea of reaching out to our friends over at SaaS Alerts and you creating this webinar because I felt that our tool is really the perfect complement to a tool like SaaS Alerts, and we'll talk about obviously why. And we'll talk about some of the things that we're seeing in the industry. And really, it's better together kind of concept with some of the industry's leading solutions out there. And obviously, SaaS Alerts is one of those. So we're thrilled to be doing this webinar with Logan and the folks over at SaaS Alerts. So I'll jump right in and talk through what we're seeing. Right. So there are undoubtedly a ton of threats out there that businesses face, but the two that we see that are somewhat existential and kind of epic moving forward is the challenge of overall just SaaS sprawl uh, and the risks that sprawl generates. And there are a number of different risks that we look at with our tool, BetterTracker. And again, it's one of the reasons why we thought it'd be great to do a webinar with SaaS Alerts because kind of our platform helps identify risk, but then a platform like SaaS Alerts really locks down and improves upon that risk. But this is a major problem that's facing just about every single business, not just MSPs, but their customers as well. And this sprawl is not just an IT blind spot. So what we're seeing is that these are obviously IT challenges because of the rapid pace and evolution of technologies and all these new solutions that come out to the market almost daily. But these are creating both security and financial risks within an organization. We'll kind of talk through some of these scenarios of what we're seeing. Yeah, it's just these are two major issues that again not just MSPs but their customers are facing, day in and day out. And it's surprising that the level of I guess velocity that sprawl is undergoing at the moment, right? And we can see that through a number of different data points. But this is how it happens, right? This happens with every single business, right? Tools are coming out, daily, left and right. MSPs are going to events. They're finding the next new shiny object, that are going to help them either operationally or help with customer service delivery. But then at the same time, their employees are looking for new solutions. The new kind of shiny marketing object or this new shiny sales tool that they can use to get a leg up and sell more effectively. So sprawl up until this point has been pretty organic and pretty uncontrolled across just about every organization. And that sprawl is generating all kinds of security risks. But at the same time, that sprawl is creating a massive amount of wasted spend. And we see that pretty definitively with our tool. It's the redundancy of solutions that an organization is running. It's the fact that somebody in marketing might have trialed or signed up for a tool, and that marketing leader might have left the organization, and no one's really responsible for that solution, and it gets auto renewed. And a year goes by, 2 years go by, and you're out, 20, 30, $40,000. And this is unfortunately something we see day in and day out. And again, this is not slowing down. The velocity, as we'll show you, is accelerating. And then unfortunately, as a byproduct of this is that there's very, ununiformed purchasing out there. Whether it's, just finding the, next new solution that's out there, or going through distribution or what have you. Purchasing up to this point has been, pretty ununiform. And I think it is for every MSP on the call can attest to. You're sourcing from, probably at minimum 15 different vendors or distributors some of your solutions. And so these are the ways that this is turned into, basically an epidemic within organizations. Kind of this is the modern map of how this happens. And what we're seeing that it's only getting worse, right? So with our tool, we first step is that we integrate with your Microsoft tenant, and we can see definitively that the average MSP is bringing in around 90 different solutions, 88.1 solutions to be exact. That means that's the number of applications that have, that are connected to Microsoft or authenticated via Microsoft within an organization. And this doesn't include obviously the unauthenticated or the shadow IP that's out there. This is just really at what you can see when you connect into your tenant. And the challenge is that it is getting that much worse. As I mentioned, AI is as amazing and as beneficial as some of these solutions can be. It is creating a really, really tough spot for a lot of businesses because of the sprawl. And for example, we can see that over the last 90 days, the average MSP has brought in 6.2 new AI tools within their organization or AI enabled solutions. And so that just is a testament to just this is not slowing down. And if you project this out, going forward over the next couple of years, this is just going to be a massive, massive blind spot and challenge for every single business. It's getting a grasp on sprawl and expense. And again, I'm sure everybody can relate to this slide at this point. So one of the really interesting things that we see, and we've seen, over the last several years with the channel program and the product that maybe some of you might be familiar with, Navistack, is basically a free solution that we put out to the marketplace to allow an MSP to actually visualize their technology stack for the first time. And the concept was, right, let the MSPs come in and build their stack, figure out what their redundancies are, and figure out what gaps might be in their stack. But when we started to anonymize the data on the back and start to look at kind of the trends were in the stack, it showed that 92% of the MSPs you basically service or serve the same core 20 or so products within their technology stack. And you guys, pretty darn well. It's that it's exceptionally hard to differentiate your MSP these days. And it is what it is. But a lot of you look, sell, and sound the exact same. The websites, even down to the structure of the website, and what you say in the website, look the same. And so our message to the industry is that you have to look beyond the stack. You have to go beyond the stack as you're going to your customers. And we built a solution that helps not just identify the sprawl, but helps you go beyond the stack with your customers to help them make better informed decisions and really optimize business. If you look at some of the larger MSPs that are out there, more mature MSPs that are out there, their sites talk about business outcomes and optimizations. They don't talk about products. They don't talk about features. They talk about really how do you optimize a business? How do you improve upon the customer's overall business, optimize it, and create win-win outcomes. And I think that's something that every MSP needs to be thinking about moving forward, because we are entering a very hyper competitive time, and AI is going to be beneficial and it's going to help with margins in the short term, but it's also going to reduce the barrier of entry for a lot of MSPs coming into this marketplace. So, this is one of the things I think just in general that you got to think about. How do you differentiate your business, from the other MSPs that are down the street? And how do you turn this into, instead of being an exercise driven around price, how is it an exercise driven around, value and optimization? And that's partly why, again, we thought doing this type of webinar, talking about our ability to identify and manage expense, and SaaS alerts ability to enforce policy and really clean up the security or the cyber hygiene on the back end made a lot of sense. So this kind of is maybe a little rehash of that last slide, but we are saying across the board that the SMBs are no longer looking for point solutions. where in the past MSPs would come in and say, I just, here's my stack. Here's, you need this, you need that. They'd open the jacket, they'd show you the watch. Again, it's really about outcomes. This is an outcome-based marketplace and economy now. And so I really think about, whether it's, through these solutions or just in your business in general, how do you start to pivot your message around selling outcomes and optimization? Because, and I think the days of just selling point solutions are over, and kind of limited utility projects are over. Um, as we progress, right, you know, kind of going further down these talking points, the customer today wants to understand, from an optimization standpoint, how do you help them save money, right? How do you help them save time, and how do you, help them, get out in front or avoid risks? And so these are and any takeaways in general. I think as you're looking at how you position your MSP moving forward, you got to be talking about, I think, these three specific elements moving forward, right? It's money, it's time, and it's risk, right? How do you, with your services, your capabilities, help to minimize that and mitigate it moving forward? And I think MSPs that do that are going to be the ones that win. Certainly as we go down this path of hyper commoditization and AI outcomes. So a little about how we help with this challenge. So our BetterTracker tool is really built to help you get full visibility of what's going on within your technology stack and expenses. So here on the left-hand side with our 365 Scout, you integrate with your Microsoft tenant. We'll be releasing the G Suite tenant here shortly, but it's really designed to help you understand, upfront, what you use, who uses it. It helps you assign accountability, at the individual and the department level. And it helps you really understand kind of the baseline of what are your potential risks. And so that's the first step as MSPs are using our tools. They're integrating and they're really starting to see what the sprawl looks like. The next step is that they're able to integrate their bank account and credit card because, again, that is another we found an amazing way to identify the sprawl and the forgotten or hidden subscriptions that the business is paying for. And and unfortunately, when we ran the beta on ourselves internally about I don't know 10 months ago, we found some subscriptions that I had thought had been canceled, and that dinged us for about $7,200. We have some amazing success stories here I'll share with you here when it comes to the expense side, how MSPs are using this to help their customers understand that. But that was kind of the next step, is right? Is if you look at this, there's kind of two sides, right? First is understand the sprawl, what you use, who uses it, assign accountability, identify risk, and the other side is, all right, let's start tracking the spend, right? Let's start tracking when these renewals hit. Let's start tracking when you're having alerts, automatic alerts, pulling in to let you know if expenses are going up or going down. The way we've kind of rounded out the utility of the platform and made it super easy, that we launched an AI capability about 4 weeks ago that allows you to take, whether it's one or a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen contracts, and upload those into the platform. And that way you can start to manage all your vendor contracts and customer contracts. So we wanted to build a platform that not just looks at the SaaS management capability, but we really want to bring in a platform that focuses on the sprawl and expense management to help you make better decisions with the solutions that you use, and then the solutions that you bring to your customers and the solutions that they use. And that is one, I think, really interesting capability about this tool, is that you can give this to your customer. So you can start managing or tracking the stack that you provide your customer, but you can also give this to your customer. That way they can start to get a grasp on their overall technology sprawl and expenses, and that you as an MSP can go in and say, hey, look, yeah, we're going to do our MSP things, but we're actually going to go beyond the stack and help you really optimize your business. And that's been, I think, one of the most powerful things about this BetterTracker platform. That is, I think, one of the reasons why we're growing so fast and having such an impact on the MSP business and their customers' business. And so our really, our message is how do we transform sprawl into revenue? And that's what we've done. We've got some amazing success stories. Now, this is one of the ones that I wish every single one of them were like this, but we have dozens and dozens of examples where an MSP ran BetterTracker internally. They looked at their sprawl and they looked at their expense, and in Chad's case, he found $100,000 in expense within his business where he would go to a lot of the events. He'd take a flyer on, one of the tools that were down the trade show floor. He'd come back and, all of a sudden he had another five, six, seven new solutions. And, and then he's $100,000, in the hole, if you will, and on his expense. And so he's able to use BetterTracker to identify those solutions, identify the expenses, and cut those expenses. So he used it internally. But what I think was even more amazing is that he took it to one of his manufacturing clients, about an $8 million business. He sat down with that client, gave him access to BetterTracker, and they, in parallel or together, went through and started identifying, what the expense they had and what expense was wasted. And first he told us, he found $52,000 a month that his customer was overspending. And we had asked him a couple times, and really like $52,000. And actually, I think it started out at $48,000, and it's up to $52,000 a month that he was able to save his customer. And that turned into $90,000 in recurring revenue, where he's helping them manage their sprawl. He's helping them from a QBR standpoint add more value and helping them getting a grasp on their overall expense. Obviously, he's more than justified his increase in ARR, but this is a perfect scenario, and we hear this scenario play out time and time again, where MSPs are going in and again optimizing their business, but doing the same thing with their customer businesses. And so it's great that we're having such a massive impact. It's a mentality shift. It's really getting out in front of the challenge before it gets to this point. But Chad is an amazing success story, and again, we hear this time and time again. One of the ways we do this, and it's very simple, is that again, first things first is that you integrate with O365, and we give you a very, very simple report to bring to either internally or to your customers. And this report it's a business driven report. It's not necessarily just a security report. It's a business driven report. So the first thing we do is say, here are all of your solutions, right? In this case, I think this one had 69 different products that were connected into their Microsoft tenant. And what we're able to say is that you have only assigned 50% of those products or solutions or tools, applications that you're using to department from an accountability and just structure standpoint. And then you only, we actually had a pretty good ownership score. You assigned 100% of these tools to somebody who's responsible within the organization. That is one of the killers, right? I mentioned before where you could have 2 or 3 solutions, 5 solutions within an organization, but that organization leader, leaves, who was responsible for that subscription or that renewal, then you're stuck not knowing who owns it, and then it gets renewed and you're stuck for another year. So this is a report. It's very simple to designed to have that business conversation, and then the status score out there is this an approved application or is this not an approved application? So again, we wanted to build this in a way that is an amazing sales tool, right? Because it allows you to have more of a business conversation versus going in and having to, sell security. And that's, similar to what, a solution I had built previously called ID Agent with our dark web scan. It was really, with the compromised credential, was you go in and show the customer, the fact that their passwords are out there, and then start having a conversation about, all of the other security solutions that you've been trying to sell them. And again, I think we had a pretty significant impact on the industry with that solution. Again, we're doing the same thing with this. Is like give a report, give a tool that makes sense to the customer, the business owner, right? And that allows you to have the conversation about why you need to have a solution like, SaaS alerts to better secure the customer environment and really clean up the cyber hygiene. So I think I'm at my last slide. But again, we're thrilled to talk about these these 2 solutions in terms of better together. And we have a whole series with a whole bunch of just different industry leaders. But we figured the first one, out of the box, is one of the ones that just makes the most sense. We can identify the sprawl, we can identify expense, right, and then help you have a legitimate reason to bring in SaaS alerts right? Increase that customer security. And so with that, I want to turn it over to Logan to kind of take through SaaS alerts. And yeah, thanks for letting me lead off here today.
Of course. Thanks so much for that, Kevin. A lot of insightful information of how BetterTracker can be used to reduce our spend, save money when it comes to dealing with IT sprawl, shadow IT as well. In a similar way of how we're saving money with BetterTracker, SaaS alerts bring security to the forefront, where the security impact to a business, our partners, your organizations, is something that also can also impact the money, the savings that we have. A security issue, those security features that we're arming our partners, that we're using to cover and protect the different environments of our partners out there, that not only is a line item, that not only is part of our services, but that can be a dual-edged sword if security is not handled appropriately, because then that puts reputations at risk, which can then influence our existing partners as well as taking on new partners as well. Where SaaS Alerts helps is by tying into these SaaS applications there that are being used by our different partners and clients there. And the unique part about SaaS environments, there's been an evolution moving away from the traditional endpoints on-premise devices, having a server rack inside a network closet, a server closet there, where now we've moved to having data in a cloud-hosted, on-demand software as a service environment there. So with that, there needs to be a unique security solution for that. Antivirus and EDR do great for stopping the propagation of malware on an endpoint, but they don't necessarily help us in these unique SaaS environments there. Microsoft, Google are the big two in the game there with Microsoft 365, Google Workspace, where the data that they're hosting touches every user, device, and a list of different applications there that we're using that have that integration to these different SaaS environments there. Now, what's remained the biggest threat vector is email. And it's really been that way since we first started sending emails back and forth. You can implement certain types of policy configurations that reject DMARC failures, do different types of configurations on the gateway, but you really can't prevent anyone from sending you an email. With that, that has caused business email compromise, phishing, and a list of other different types of attacks that are born over email there. And it's important to make sure that email is covered, but also make sure that there is something that is part of our solution suite that can help protect those environments when someone does go far as clicking on a link that slipped through our existing protections there that we have there inside email. That's led to billions in dollars of losses from a list of different businesses out there, and so on. And these are user identity based attacks that are targeting specifically those SaaS environments, like I mentioned there, where things like malware, having a attachment, bring malware to the environment, that's actually dropped off. And specifically, phishing is what is targeting the user identities that we're using to access Microsoft 365, Google Workspace, and others. With that, with these unique SaaS environments, there also is a unique threat that it brings. Token theft is a situation where a threat actor, either through cross-site scripting, phishing, gaining access to a personal device, has found a way to steal tokens stored in the browser, which those tokens allow access to these remote hosted uh, SaaS platforms like Microsoft, where traditional tools that we've used in the past, like SOC, SIMs, maybe even MDRs, those don't have a great way of catching those different types of attack. The existing controls that Microsoft has, like multi-factor authentication, conditional access policies, those can be sidestepped entirely by this token theft type of attack because it's a mid-session injection where a threat actor can start running PowerShell. He could start downloading files there, all without necessarily needing to authenticate to these environments that conditional access and multi-factor authentication apply. Microsoft, they know it's a gap, and in some situations they do use it as a upsell opportunity with certain levels of business premium. They'll let you know of reports, different events when they suspect a token theft or a attack in the middle type attack is ongoing. However, those aren't foolproof. Um, what's unique about SaaS alerts is it brings a ways that specifically can help us with these token theft situations. There is the ability to correlate activity inside these SaaS environments to a device that you know about, where being token theft, being a brute force attack, that is going to involve an unknown device. That, along with a list of ways how SaaS alerts inside Microsoft and Google, for example, can do things like automatically close out a user session and block the sign in on those users exhibiting adverse activity. That could all be done automatically. That's something that you don't need to be behind the wheel on. You don't need to be in the office. After hours, 24/7, 365, SaaS alerts can act as your digital security guard, finding and stopping that unwanted activity there. Outside of helping with cloud detection and response, which is just what I described there, SaaS alerts can help deploy configurations, be in it settings that align with industry standings, benchmarks, Center of Internet Security, National Institute of Standards and Technology, recommendations by Microsoft. The second side of SaaS alerts, outside of audit and respond, is also that deployment of configurations, policies, and other settings there that you would typically do when you're onboarding a Microsoft 365 tenant. And the monitoring of the platform can help identify identity access management type events, authentication success, failures, MFA events like settings being changed, MFA failures, also file events, modifications, uploads, downloads happening inside OneDrive or Google Drive, for example, file shares happening internally inside a domain and externally outside of the domain there, where the list of events that SaaS Alerts picks up provides a comprehensive view of the activity inside our environments. The data that's ingested by SaaS Alerts is immutable, when it comes to audits, being able to show an audit trail of the complete activity of a user, an environment. Uh, we don't ditch the data like other platforms do, and we're going to be able to show you that entire trail of the events there. That's important when we talk about compliance, CMMC, PCI for our retail partners out there, and also with other policies that our different partners have as well. We have role-based access control, so outside of giving you visibility into this information, if there's an IT director, an auditor who needs access, we can then give them just the appropriate view of the data of the organizations that they need to see. The automated security policy management there, and this speaks to the deployment, the configurations that we're putting inside Microsoft 365. That can be done across all your tenants, where instead of having to drill down into each tenant and then from each tenant go inside every different Microsoft platform like SharePoint, Outlook, Teams, Intune, Purview, even. That could all be done in a central managed platform via SaaS alerts, where not only do we allow you to ad hoc deploy configuration settings one time, you can template these settings out, where if there's an admin or a process that reverts a setting to an insecure state, SaaS alerts can then put it back to where it needs to be. And that secure state, we're using those industry benchmarks, like I mentioned before, CIS, NIST, and Microsoft, which lines up with your Microsoft Secure Score. So if your workflow involves, as soon as you onboard a Microsoft tenant there, ensuring that the secure score reaches a certain level, those are all things that SaaS alerts can eventually do for you overnight without you needing to spend hours and days uh, finding those settings and deploying those. We can also do things like snapshotting. And snapshotting helps us avoid recreating work we've already done in one tenant. Say that one tenant has a list of uh, conditional access policies, Intune device configuration policies, Defender policies. We can snapshot those policies from one of our tenants, customize them if we want to. And in terms of taking that customization or the default snapshot and putting that in other tenants, all are something that can be done with just a few clicks here. Great, robust reporting that lets us view information like the Microsoft Secure Score, a potential of where the Secure Score can be if we were to deploy all the configurations available at our fingertips over SaaS alerts. There also is log retention of up to 400 days that we provide in hot storage, which is searchable. So once again, going back to those compliance standards like CMMC, in most situations, I've dealt with partners who have to have 1 year of searchable data, and we can easily check that box there with giving you 400 days, really a year and a month. And giving that visibility and high level executive reports with graphs, details, a heat map of where activities coming from in the world are all pre-canned, built inside the platform that we can schedule out for our partners, our clients to review that information as well. And it's not just the big two, Microsoft and Google. There's a list of different SaaS applications that are connecting not just to Microsoft and Google, but they're also providing us a tool set as well as storing our client data. What I mean there is there are existing tools like RMM platforms, PSA ticketing systems that we're using. Those are SaaS platforms as well. Not only can we secure those, but we're also using different platforms like RMMs, using the devices there. And that's one example of that device correlation I spoke about earlier when dealing with token theft. And from ranging to Ignite, Zoom, Slack, our clients' data also exist out in these other applications. And having this broad coverage that SaaS Alerts provides is ensuring those other platforms are protected as well. And what you can do today outside of SaaS alerts involves things like implementing phishing resistant multi-factor authentication, reducing session tokens, following Microsoft's Dart recommendations. However, those different recommendations can be costly to implement. Some situations they need us to utilize a different licensing level outside of Microsoft. They need us to ensure multi-factor authentication is deployed across the board. If we only have 80% of our users using multi-factor authentication, that then is essentially leaving a gap of 20% there. And These don't necessarily stop damage. They limit it to an extent there. Where using a tool like SaaS Alerts, this is something that can be used in Microsoft environments only with a business basic or a business standard license. I know that having a long list of partners doesn't mean that they're up to the same licensing level. SaaS Alerts can provide that premium like security baseline for our list of Microsoft partners, regardless what licensing they're on. And that utilizes unique capabilities to find those token theft situations or those attack in the middle by correlating SaaS activity to a device that you know about, finding the unknown devices that really could be part of token theft, as well as any type of attack you can think of. Using SaaS alerts, we also have the ability to ensure our environments inside Microsoft 365 are configured appropriately. It can take days, weeks to when starting from onboarding a Microsoft tenant to deploy the different settings inside SharePoint, Intune, Purview that we need to have as part of our baseline there. That can all be done automatically for you utilizing SaaS alerts there, where you not only utilize the different areas we can help in compliance, like 400 days of log retention, but there's also easy to use pre-canned reports, which we can use to send off to our partners in QBRs and different executive reviews. A ranging list of feedback that we've gotten and which I've heard at my time with SaaS alerts. We've heard stories about people realizing that they're being attacked by Russia as soon as they start trialing or using SaaS alerts there. There's situations of a Chinese intel, a different attack with a hacker from China that was stealing file information, downloading files that they found as soon as they deployed SaaS alerts there. And really, with a lot of different partners, if you're not using a solution that is auditing Microsoft like SaaS alerts, you're going to see those impacts within the first month here. And usually it doesn't take a month. It takes in the first couple of days of you realizing, well, I should have been using something to audit Microsoft because Microsoft wasn't jumping up and down, letting me know that my data is flowing into Russia somehow. And the benefits that this brings us are, again, complementing BetterTracker and increasing the revenue of these different SaaS environments there. There are clients that increase their MRR by $2 to $6 per user using a tool like SaaS Alerts there, where they're not only just saving the time to protect the environment, they're saving the heartache that would come after being attacked and not having a solution like SaaS Alerts to find those brute force attack successes or to find those different token theft attacks there. And not every service provider out there is including proactive SaaS protection and monitoring there. So joining the SaaS Alerts team now would give you a competitive advantage over a lot of other service providers that aren't using a tool to help protect their SaaS environments. And the theme of the conversation today is that through a combination of BetterTracker and SaaS alerts, we're helping increase profitability. Not just the ability to find shadow IT sprawl inside the environments there, but protect our existing environments there and ensuring that our reputations are safe as well as the data of our partners and clients.